Knicks fans, what's good? It's your boy Ruben, and you know what it is. Um, this for you, Knicks fans. Our season ended last night. All right. Does it hurt? It does. Um, but it's bittersweet, right? There's sweet to it. The reason it's bittersweet is because I wanted this year, the conference finals. I wanted to see it. I wanted to see um what we've built, and let me reel it back so I can kind of better explain it, right? So when I think of this year, I'm going to think of two things. One, how proud I am of the Knicks and how far they came and the things they overcame to get to where they are, and I'm hyped to see where this leads going into the future. Okay, that's number one. But then the second thing I think about is the what ifs in this scenario, because if we're healthy, I think we're running through the East, right? Up until Boston, I think we run through the East until we would have got a hard fought series with Boston that I think anybody could have took. And I think, and if we're at full strength, I like my chances against Boston. Now, the what ifs that I'm talking about are decisions got to get made in the offseason, right? Um, what do you do with Isaiah Hartenstein? He's up for a contract. What do we do with Bogdanovich? I believe he has a team option. Alec Burks, free agent. Precious Achua, restricted free agent. It's time to make a move. We have the draft picks. I don't want us to stand pat, especially, which is something that could happen because a lot of people could be thinking, or, Leon Rose could be thinking, we didn't see this team full strength. We want to see it with Julius Randle. OG also's up, and I'm that number is going to be probably that magic number is going to probably be 40 mil. Um, but that remains to be seen. I just want to talk about how top to bottom. Do you understand? We had a 7-footer in Mitchell Robinson, best offensive rebounding center in the league. Julius Randle, 25 and 10 all NBA player. We have OG Anunoby, arguably the most elite wing defender in the league. You have Dante DiVincenzo, who's proven to be one of the best 3-and-D guys in the league. You have Jalen Brunson, all NBA, 40 point after 40 point after 40 point, and we needed every bit of it, right? And then you got Hartenstein coming off the bench, another 7-footer. Hart that would have been coming off the bench, key utility guy. Bogdanovich. And a lot of you guys were down on Bogdanovich, but I kind of, unfortunately, as much as I love the team and as much as I love the job Tibbs did, sometimes Tibbs has a hard time identifying guys and when their strength is offense, because Bogdanovich isn't a defensive guy, so he didn't quite get in the game like I expected him to, but I thought he was going to be pivotal in the playoffs. If you guys ever watched the Utah Jazz, Bogdanovich is a bucket. He's 6'8", is a pure shooter, but he isn't just a pure shooter. Like, he's I don't know who to compare him to, so don't crucify me for this, but he's a very poor man's Luka, right? He doesn't have the handle, but he always can get in the paint, draw fouls and ones, hit buckets. Like, he's a guy that the Jazz and Detroit in the fourth quarter gave the ball to and told us to take him, take us there, right? So I really wanted to see what that team would have looked like, but I don't see how this team stays completely together. I think the Villanova boys are going to be here, but I think anybody else is pretty much kind of in flux, right? So what's the big move? A lot of people are talking Paul George, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and things like that. So where I'm at is, again, just damn. Like, I would have loved to seen that team hold just this year. Just this year, because we did everything right. We played hard, made the second seed, won, drew the harder matchup in playing the Philadelphia 76ers. And I know people are going to say Embiid was hurt, but that's fine. We were hurt. But the alternative was going to be what, right? So we play because I believe the alternative was going to be what, the Pacers. I believe I don't remember what the scenario was going to be, but we made it through. Got to Game 7 against the Pacers, just one game away from seeing Boston, and I can't ask. I can't ask for more because when I came into the season, I had zero expectations because I felt like a move was needed. We couldn't stand pat. Like we weren't ready to go to the championship, so it was hard for me to be like, yeah, well, this is what I expect. We just came off of making a second round run, right, and losing to the Miami Heat last year. So I had no expectations until they made the trade for OG Anunoby, and it transformed the team. Like a lot of you guys, I don't think understand how we're different and how that gives us an advantage. A lot of you guys are crying that we need this stretch big, which I never view the stretch big as a necessity. I think it's a luxury, right? It's nice to have if you have it, but what I need from my bigs are to be able to rebound, to be able to control the paint, to make sure that we own the physical advantage. And that is what makes New York different. And if you don't agree with me, take a look at Minnesota. Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns roaming the paint. They are controlling the paint, sort of like that's right, the Knicks with their 7-footers and their length. OG Anunoby, Jaden McDaniels, Jalen Brunson coming through in the clutch and putting big numbers up. Anthony Edwards. There's a lot of similarities and to 90s basketball where a lot of these guys are getting soft and we need to stretch five and and we got to spread people out and yada yada yada, but they're doing it at the detriment of their physical advantages of crashing the boards and things like that. Why do you think Josh Hart is able to do what he does? Now, don't get it twisted. He's nice at what he does when it comes to going to get the rebounds and things like that. But it helps that there's no longer really that many true centers. It's Embiid and Jokic for the most part, right? So having a Mitchell Robinson, you saw what he did to Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, right? Those are 2 7-footers, but guess what? They weren't big enough for Mitch, right? And then when you have a guy the size of Mitch just controlling the paint, the change of pace that Isaiah Hartenstein is to a Mitchell Robinson, like we're just crafted beautifully as a team. The only thing we're missing is a secondary shot creator, which is something that I worried about missing ever since we traded Quickly. I kind of hoped Quickly would develop into that, but I always knew that he wasn't going to stick around after we signed Brunson, and we'd never be able to see what kind of star Isaiah Quickly would be. But in my opinion, I think the move should be number one on my list is Mikal Bridges. And the reason for that is because I don't think you're going to have to break the bank for Mikal Bridges. It is going to cost, but I think you can relatively keep a similar team to what we had. You might even, I think you could keep Julius Randle. I think they'll take picks. I think it might cost McBride. It might cost one of our centers, right? It might cost Achua. It might cost Bogdanovic. Like, I think we can give them sort of these ancillary parts that we have kind of a redundancy in and some picks. And I think you can see a starting lineup of Mitch, Randall, OG, Mikal, Brunson, and then that leaves Hart and DiVincenzo coming off the bench. Now, what does that provide us? Hart's already sort of a pseudo ball handler. Like he's the guy that kind of initiates offense. That's what he was doing when he was coming off the bench for us. Now, is it ideal to not have an actual point guard off the bench? I'm sure they could figure that out. But what Mikal Bridges gives us is the opposite of what you just saw. With the injuries, we were running an all 6'4" and under lineup, guys. We had Hartenstein in there, who isn't the lumbering big 7-footer that Mitch is, or whatever. And then it was Josh Hart, 6'4", 6'5", if you want to give him the 6'5", 6'4", DiVincenzo, 6'4", Jalen Brunson, 6'1", Miles McBride, 6'2", right? 6'1". So that's a problem, right? Now, next year, and the thing that Mikal Bridges sort of does, he gives his OG Anunoby insurance. So if he gets hurt, we still keep a premier 6'6" wing defender that can shoot the ball. And Mikal Bridges can actually do some things with the ball. He was a closer for Brooklyn just last year. He was averaging 24, 25 points for Brooklyn just last year. Now, he had a down year this year, but so did all of Brooklyn. And it seemed like, I don't want to say he mailed it in, but it seemed like, you know what? I'm gonna let y'all do what y'all do, and then I'll just get in wherever I fit in with that. It never felt like they were trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? Develop Mikal Bridges into this star. It never felt like that, and I think that had a lot to do with his setback. It looked like they gave Cam Thomas a clear role, and it was kind of at the detriment of Mikal Bridges. I don't think it made a lot of sense. Don't get it twisted. I think Cam Thomas is a hooper, but he should never be in the pecking order before Mikal Bridges. And that's ultimately where I'm at. To have a 6'6" guy, two 6'6" wing guys, because Anunoby's 6'7", right? And to have those two guys have a bully in Julius Randle. Now, I do question. I like the way we ran through Brunson, right? There was, everybody had a clear role, knew what they were doing. And I thought Julius Randle did a lot better when he was healthy in A, being decisive, and B, not being quite the ball stopper. But is he going to be able to handle that? Is he going to come back trying to prove that he's that guy? Is he going to fit in? Is the only thing I'm curious about. But that's tough decisions, man. If Mikal Bridges can't be had, just another name. Like, I really want a wing guy, right? So, for instance, I don't want to be the guy, just like I just stated, that you guys want the stretch five and da-da-da-da, and at the detriment of, losing our control of the paint that we have now, right? I don't know who that stretch guy would be. I heard a name floated that I think works, and it makes us a little softer. But he's another big guy. He'll get us 8 to 10 rebounds. Lauri Markkanen, and he fits in better. Lauri Markkanen is a guy I would consider if you're going to go that big route. Now, I just don't think that's where they're going to want to go. And Danny Ainge has made a history trying to rape the Knicks, so I don't see how that's going to work. But I think another guy nobody's really talking about is, I think the Pelicans are on the verge of being about to blow that up, right? And so I don't know if it's this year, but you already hear the rumors that, they might be coming off of Brandon Ingram. If they keep him, I believe Trey Murphy's coming up. And do I think they want to get rid of Murphy? No. But I think decisions have to be made. The second apron rules that the CBA has implemented, it's going to be real in effect this offseason. So teams are going to have to make some tough decisions. Are they going to want to pay Trey Murphy? They already pay Zion. You got BI. CJ's making a nice chunk of change. What do y'all think? Right? I think Trey Murphy is a star in the making. Plus, he knows how to play a role. He's a nice, long, athletic wing. That I don't think you're going to have to really deplete your valued stores of for. That's my thing. Now, if they're really going to swing, because PG's another guy that they're talking about, I don't want PG. I don't want the old guy. I don't want Embiid with the injury. I don't want the old guys. I don't want the guys with the injury history at this point, especially if we're going to keep OG Anunoby. We have to account for that guy being injured. Like, we can't add too many guys that just have a history of this. We took the swing with OG. He's one of us, and that's what we're going to do. But I think the guy they should consider if they're going to swing big is not even Kevin Durant. They need to figure out how to get Devin Booker. Now, I think it's a problem athletically, but he gives us the secondary score that we need. That's all I got for now, guys. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Peace.